Hi, I'm Mike Phillips, growth marketer and strategist with over 12 years of marketing experience. Personalization is in play in every piece of copy we read, but we never realize it because when it's done right, it's never noticed by the consumer of the content. That's because the baseline that we compare our interactions to is a simple one-to-one conversation with another person. This baseline is how we recognize the difference between an intimate conversation and listening to a lecture meant to address thousands. It's about how a lecture and a conversation with someone we know, like, and trust feels different. So when it comes to your content, the goal should be to have it feel like an intimate conversation, not a sterile address. Content personalization is a strategy that tailors the appearance and substance of a page to a user's individual characteristics and preferences. On the face, that sounds like a wonderful thing. If a user likes blue versus red, a menu item will respond. If a user likes a certain type of language versus another, it will respond. If a page needs to show a certain element first in order to better engage that individual user, the content responds. Unfortunately, there are real-world constraints on how personalized of an experience we can create for our customers. These are technical limits that vary from user to user based on regional laws and device-level settings. Also, there is a perception problem with personalization. Over-personalization can feel like an invasion of privacy. If preferences so specific to the user are exploited, the user may feel an uncanny experience, and they may wind up developing a negative affinity for the experience we create. Your goal is to make the content feel like you created it specifically for that one user, and to do this without it feeling like an invasion of privacy. This balance is the key to developing a proper personalized UX. When you begin to personalize your content, consider these three key aspects that define personalization. Number one, dial in the relevance of the content. Number two, use familiar language. Communicate in their words. And number three, promote efficient consumption of your content. This last point is about streamlining access for the user to get what they need out of your content. Relevance. The first aspect of personalization is about filtering your content to include only what the customer needs to know and what they want to see. This is about what your customer wants. Not you, not internal stakeholders at your business, their unique needs that are relevant to them at the buyer journey stage that they're in. The good news is that search trends, keyword research, and your own market research will teach you a lot of what you need to know to be able to deliver the right, relevant content at each stage of your buyer's journey. The goal here is to emphasize in the early stages of the journey what a customer needs to know, discover, and understand at that point, and then to also provide an experience that feels tailored to the middle and bottom of funnel customers that are closer to conversion. The second aspect of personalization is using familiar language. The concept of using familiar language is well documented as a rapport building tool. It works in sales and it works in content. Documented increases in trust happen when customers communicate with people that use similar language as them. Increased trust reduces price sensitivity. It shortens sales cycles and it moves them further along the path to purchase. Mirroring a customer's language is a great way to build rapport. Again, keyword research will help you know the types of questions and the language that your customers use when it comes to communicating with them. The final aspect of personalization is efficiency. Your site, your content, is the only salesperson you have that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A good salesperson will reduce friction and guide a customer through shortcuts if necessary to get to the information they need with as little resistance as possible. Your content should do the same. The goal is to get them the answers to the questions they need as efficiently as possible, with the least amount of investment of time, attention span, and energy. Now that we have definitions for relevance, familiar language, and efficiency, let's dive into why each of those three aspects is important to personalization and the pitfalls of getting it wrong. Personalization has its roots at the very foundation of the marketing profession. The foundation is that people buy from people they trust. Each aspect of personalization, relevance, familiar language, and efficiency have specific impacts on developing that trust. And that trust is developed by tailoring the user experience of interacting with your content. And ultimately, this impacts how well your content performs when it comes to driving conversions and revenue. When it comes to the benefits and impact of relevance, the calculus is simple. Content that gives your customers the direct impression of being relevant specifically to them will drive better performance and build more trust. Not only will relevant content rank better and drive more traffic, it will increase on-page metric performance and drive better conversion. That's a 1-2 punch of bringing in more leads and then doing more to engage them. The pitfalls of missing on relevance is that your audience will perceive your content as not being pertinent to their needs. It may even reflect negatively on their view of how well you understand their wants and needs. If your content is judged as being less relevant, it undermines the ability for your content to help your customers make judgments and decisions that move them through the buyer's journey. This undermined performance usually has a lagging indicator of higher bounce rates. The roots are in whether the content itself is personalized to be relevant to that user. Familiar language is key to building rapport through your content with your customer. People need to know, like, and most importantly, trust you before they're going to buy anything from you. Rapport building is the first step when it comes to establishing trust. And trust will do a lot for your business. You will have reduced price sensitivity. You will have shorter sales cycles. And you will have increased customer loyalty. These are the same benefits that trust and personalization has when it comes to building your brand authority. But here you can capture it for the performance of your content. Choosing generic language or ignoring familiar language personalization will result in a site that feels cold and impersonal at best and overtly salesy at worst. People need to know that you understand and care about their problems. If you are using the same generic language as your competitors, your product or service or offering will be lost in a sea of sameness. When everything is the same, you are left competing on price. And a price competition is almost always a race to the bottom. Friction is almost always bad for efficiency. And as we said in prior lessons, our customers don't have time, they have options. Having a smooth, efficient, easy content consumption process will make you the first option on their list. You put in the work to attract traffic to your content. Now honor that attention by delivering an efficient experience. When you save your prospects time, attention span, and energy, they will reward your content with greater engagement. Poor efficiency comes from poor perspective. Efficiency is always measured from the perspective of the user. Given the choice between what is easy for the user and what is easy for your business, always choose the option that makes things more efficient for your user. In the end, they are the ones that are doing business with you. Efficiency is something that a content viewer will not notice if you do it really well, but they will absolutely notice if you do it wrong. And they will express their dissatisfaction with your high friction, low efficiency experience by bouncing to other options, your competitors. Now let's review the ways to implement the 3 aspects of personalization in your content and how to improve your users' UX. To be relevant, content must first be useful to your customer. Overly basic, vague, or generic content is not terribly useful. Avoid creating content that is overly basic, too generic, for the level of education or awareness that your customers have at the stage of the buyer's journey they're in. The best practice here is to implement different pages that speak to the customers at different stages of their journey. Craft some articles to address early stage broader awareness, and some additional pages that dive deeper on specific benefits and impacts of the solutions that you offer. Craft some articles that address early education and awareness knowledge gaps, and deep dive solution pages that serve high intent buyers. Use familiar language to build rapport with a technique called style shifting. Style shifting is the practice of matching your vocabulary to the appropriate level of language for your consumer. Match the level of complexity of your word choice and the amount of jargon you use to where your customer is at in the buyer journey. A customer at the beginning of the journey may need more definitions and simple language so they can better digest the initial value proposition or awareness education that your content is sharing. This is different from how a ready-to-buy customer may welcome shorthand and acronyms that they already have become educated in to facilitate ease in purchasing. Remember that regardless of stage, you should match the language overall to the demographic of the customers in your ideal profile. A layperson will appreciate very different language than selling to PhDs. When it comes to efficiency, structure is key. Much like the tips from our lesson on simplicity, structure allows your customer to consume your content efficiently. The goal with efficiency is to make it easy to consume, understand, and remember your content's messaging. Proper use of nested headings, formatting with bolding and highlighting, as well as accented pull quotes, allow the eye to be steered through the content, making a very clear path, tailored to each stage of the journey, of where the customer's eye needs to go as they consume what you have written. Here is to make a very easy to skim structure. The customers will be able to understand what it is you are presenting in general and give their attention to the areas that matter most to them. That is an efficient consumption process. A second great UI experience when it comes to efficiency is to write strong hooks for leading text over accordion, unfolding, or read more expansion elements. This allows a customer to determine if the investment of their attention span is worthwhile and to be able to skim over that which they've understood from a prior session. All of this is to allow your customers to determine if deep dive reading is worth their attention, or if they already have seen and understand enough, and give them a clear, easy path to purchase. Take these 3 steps and implement relevance, familiar language, and efficiency to increase the user experience of your content. Effective content dials in the relevance of what you write so a customer feels it is directly pertinent to them. It uses familiar language to build rapport and establish trust. And it facilitates efficiency that matches where the customer is at in their buyer's journey. Getting personalization wrong leaves a lot of content and revenue performance on the table. Getting it right decreases bounce rates, lowers price sensitivity, and decreases overall sales cycle. And while doing that, it increases conversion rate and customer loyalty. Now we have a couple of homework assignments to help you practice what you've learned. Assignment number 1. Study some of your competitors' sites for relevance, familiar language, and efficiency. Grade them. Evaluate how they perform relative to each other and how you perceive it as a customer. Then, take a minute and evaluate your own site. The order is important. Measuring a competitor first allows you to avoid confirmation bias of us thinking that our site is inherently better. As any business owner or marketer, we tend to have that bias built in. Compare those two evaluations and look for areas that you are excelling and areas where you have opportunity for improvement. Assignment number 2 builds on the first assignment. Please do these in order. Take the analysis from lesson 1 and build a series of content tests. Make the adjustments that you thought from the areas of opportunity for improvement, and compare content, either in A/B testing or some other multivariate testing model. Compare traffic and conversion data between the two versions, and take an ongoing iterative approach. Judge how an idea works, test it, look at the data, revise an improvement. This is not a one and done process. It will be constantly revolving to continue keeping your site at the peak of performance. By now you should understand the elements of personalizing your content, the pitfalls of generic content, and the positive benefits that personalization can have on your user experience and overall content performance. In the next lesson, we will dive into how to use writing style as a tool to further enhance your user experience. Thank you for learning with me. I'm Mike Phillips, and remember, consuming your content should feel like a personal conversation, not an impersonal lecture.